Hey guys, this is Collin Moshman for CardRunners.com. Today's video is going to be on 3-bet shoving on the bubble as a mid-stack against a Pwning base stack. So a pretty specific topic. And I want to clarify from the beginning that our initial situation that we have up in the Hold'em Resources downloadable calculator will not be the kind of situation we're focusing on. So to clarify here, we have a situation where the blinds are 400, 225. The small blind has us slightly covered. We're in the big blind. He's going to min raise, and we can 3-bet shove very wide here if he's pwning. So if he's trying to min raise pwn in a spot like this, he's almost just as risk averse as we are to putting his entire stack at risk, and so we can easily 3-bet shove on him very wide. In fact, we can have the calculator pull up our exact range, and we can shove on him with over the top 50% of hands, and that assumes that he's only opening the top 39% here. And when we're thinking about a pwning opponent, then we're putting him on a much wider opening range. So if he elects to min raise here instead of open shoving, which is going to be the better strategy for him, then we can shove very wide. Now, the main situation, though, that we're going to be focusing on from here on out are spots where he is not anywhere near as risk averse as we are, which is going to constrain our 3-bet shoving range. So a common example, which we'll pull up, is going to take place in a 9-man non-turbo. Of course, similar situations will occur in turbos, but this particular stack dynamic is one that will be more common in a non-turbo, where let's say that the button has a stack of 6,000, everyone else has 2,500, and the blinds are 75 and 150. So we're going to suppose that the button min raises, we're in the big blind, and determine what our shoving range is. So let's go ahead and pull this up with Nash as a base point. And despite the fact that in Nash he's only opening under 50% of hands, we can still shove about 23% in the big blind. So if we then change it and we say, well, let's suppose that he's opening an extremely wide range to pwn the bubble, we won't go 100%, but let's say top 75%, which is definitely going to be realistic with a lot of lag regs and aggressive players. And we can recalculate given that assumption and see that we now shove the top 37%. Now, this is actually a pretty wide shoving range. It involves any pair, any ace, including ace-deuce offsuit, any suited king, all Broadway hands, and a lot of these semi-bluffing hands like 7-5 suited, 9-6 suited. And the reason for that is we can go to just outside the viewing window, hand expert strategy in the Hold'em Resources downloadable. And it works because we are exploiting a huge gap between his open and call ranges. So he's opening top 75%, calling the top 11%, and then adjust accordingly. Against some players, this will be an even wider gap. So maybe they're opening literally any 2 cards, calling even tighter, in which case we can shove accordingly wide. And then if it's a narrower gap, adjust accordingly. This is actually for the small blind, so let's go ahead and see the small difference. When we make ourselves the big blind, we're going to have a wider 3-bet shoving range, which should widen his calling range. And sure enough here, so a lot of players are not going to call quite this wide when we shove in the big blind because they're not going to realize how wide we're 3-bet shoving.